Welcome to Trust Your Birth Tuesday. This space is all about cutting through the noise, debunking the fear-based stuff that we've been told about birth, and helping you feel genuinely confident going into your own birth. I'm Coco. I'm a doula. I'm mama of two, and I am someone who has been exactly where you are. Even with my training, once I was pregnant myself, I still had fears of birth. I wanted unmedicated birth, but I definitely was thinking I didn't know if I could handle it. I didn't know if I could do it. And so I'm here today to share the three biggest myths about unmedicated birth that might be quietly shaping your fears without you even realizing it. And these aren't just myths I've seen with my clients. These are myths that I had to bust myself when I was pregnant. So let's start with a big one. Unmedicated birth is all about pain, right? That's the narrative that we hear. That's what we see in mainstream media. That's what everyone talks to us about. That birth is just something that you have to survive, that you have to get through. Or maybe you've heard, why don't you just get the epidural, right? But what I've learned, both personally and through my doula clients, is it's not about pain, it's about power. And pain isn't the enemy. In fact, birth pain is different from any other pain because it's productive. It's not your body breaking down, it's your body doing exactly what it's meant to do. When I was pregnant with my first, I was terrified. I'm sure a lot of you've heard about the ring of fire, that time of when you're crowning. And I've heard all the horror stories. My friends had told me about it. But you know what? When it actually happened, I had this unexpected thought from all the practice and mindset work that I had done throughout my pregnancy. When I felt that ring of fire, I was like, hey, this is it. This is the moment that I get to meet my baby. And suddenly it wasn't something to fear. It was a sense of power. It was like crossing the finish line in the hardest race I've ever run. It was intense, yeah, but it was so powerful. And so the real problem really isn't pain itself. It's honestly the fear of pain that's the issue. Fear creates tension in your body, and the tension makes the pain feel worse. So when you understand that and you understand how to work with your body instead of against it, it's the fear that starts to dissolve and everything gets a lot easier. That's why preparation isn't just about learning what happens in birth. It's about understanding how to move through it with confidence. Because when you're prepared, the fear isn't going to stand a chance. Okay. So myth 2, right? You can't have an unmedicated birth in the hospital. I don't know how many of you have heard that. I get it. I understand because hospitals are designed for emergencies. They're designed for medical events, and birth is not an emergency. But here's the truth. It's not the hospital. It's about the environment that you create within it. I had both of my unmedicated births in the hospitals, and I've supported dozens of women in the hospital with their unmedicated births. And yeah, it can definitely be a challenge. There's protocols maybe that you don't agree with. There's staff who doesn't necessarily understand what you're doing or why you're doing it, and they don't get why you're declining certain interventions. But you know what makes all the difference? It's not luck, it's the right preparation. And one thing that I go through with my birth coaching clients is how to stay grounded and advocate for themselves when the energy feels super overwhelming. I call it the confidence compass, and it's not a huge complicated system that you have to remember when you're in the middle of labor. It's just a simple way to stay grounded and make that informed decision when it matters most. During my first birth, my midwife who admitted me, she basically told me she wasn't going to be around for delivering my baby because her shift was going to end in 10 hours. And so that could have been a really discouraging moment, but I didn't care. I didn't let it get to me. I wasn't relying on that midwife for the birth of how I wanted it to be. And I had my husband, I had my tools, I had prepared, and I had my own inner compass guiding me. And you know what? Funny enough, my baby was actually born 9 minutes before that midwife's shift ended. So the hospital does not define your birth. You do. You're the one in charge. You're the one in control. You just need the tools and confidence that's built from the right preparation. So, myth number 3, you just have to go with the flow. That sounds great in theory, right? But you know what? Birth is unpredictable. Just ride the wave, right? That's what people tell you. But here's the thing, you can't go with the flow if you don't know how to swim, right? Going with the flow doesn't mean you show up unprepared. It means that you have tools to adapt when things shift because they're going to shift. Like I said, birth is unpredictable and it doesn't follow a script. But when you're prepared, you don't need that script, right? You just can do it because you're prepared and you understand. I remember during my second birth, I had totally hit a wall. I was in that transition phase of thinking I cannot do this anymore. And instead of spiraling, I did exactly what I teach and I paused. I grounded myself with the techniques that I had used and practiced during my pregnancy. And I was able to shift my mindset. And it didn't make the contractions stop. Of course, those are going to keep going. Your body's going to keep working. But it gave me what I needed. It gave me that moment to breathe, to regroup. And that's all I needed to do to keep going. So you don't need to just go with the flow. You need to create your own current. It's all about you being in the driver's seat and surrendering to your body, not necessarily surrendering to the hospital staff or to other people telling you what to do. Because once you have that preparation and that confidence, you're going to know how to navigate, surrender to your body, trust your body's innate ability to birth, and you're going to be able to, quote unquote, go with the flow because you are the flow. So let's go over those main things real quick. 1, pain isn't the enemy, fear is, right? We learned that fear creates tension in your body and tension is going to amplify the pain. When you can release that tension, you can release that fear, things are going to feel less intense and less painful because now you're not stuck in that fear, pain, tension cycle. 2, the hospital doesn't define your birth, you do. I know that hospitals can feel really scary, even if you've chosen to be in the hospital for your unmedicated birth, just in case. I understand that fear that your hospital is just going to override your birth. But I'm here to tell you, I have witnessed it, I have gone through it, and I know that you can have a successful unmedicated birth in the hospital if you have that confidence and you have those tools to advocate for yourself. And 3, going with the flow is not about winging it. It's about being prepared to adapt when birth or things shift. If this resonated with you, I want you guys to make sure that you stay tuned into my Instagram, into my emails, all that kind of stuff. I have something coming your way for moms to feel 100% prepared for birth. Obviously, I'm really passionate about it. No fear-based stuff, no fluff. It's just real practical support. And if you found this helpful, make sure to tune in for next week. I love doing these free little mini classes, 10, 15, 20 minutes, just to give you that little burst of confidence as you're preparing for birth. I know there's so much noise out there. I know that as soon as you're pregnant, your Instagram feed is filled with advice, and I'm trying to be here. I know I'm also part of that, but I'm trying to be here to cut out that noise and just give you practical tools to help you build your confidence and know that you can have that unmedicated birth you're desiring if you do the right preparation, not everything that's thrown at you. So next week, we're actually diving in to the real reason why you might not be prepared for your unmedicated birth and how to fix it. So you really don't want to miss that. And in the meantime, if you have any questions or have a big takeaway from today's class, drop it in the comments and I would love to hear what stood out to you.